Arun was a farmer who lived on the edge of a small village. His home was simple, made of stone walls and a roof of dried grass, but it was enough for him. Every day he worked in his fields from sunrise to sunset. He grew wheat and a little rice, and he kept a few goats near his hut. Life was quiet, and that was how he liked it. One evening, after finishing his work, Arun walked toward the river to fetch water. The sun had gone low, painting the sky in orange and purple. The air was cool, and the sound of crickets filled the fields. It was a time of peace, when most people returned to their homes. Arun carried 2 empty clay pots with him, humming a tune his mother had taught him long ago. When he reached the riverbank, he stopped suddenly. Something unusual caught his eye. Near the water, half hidden among reeds, there was a bag. It was not a bag he had ever seen before. It was large, dark, and smooth, not like cloth or leather. It almost looked like it was made of some kind of shining skin. Arun frowned and stepped closer. He placed his pots on the ground and bent down. The bag was heavy, and its surface was cool to the touch, even though the evening air was warm. It had no rope or knot to tie it, but it was sealed in a strange way, like 2 sides pressing against each other. At first, Arun thought it might belong to a traveler who had lost it. But as he tried to lift it, he felt a movement inside. His heart jumped. Something was alive in there. Carefully, he pulled at the seam until the bag opened with a soft hiss, as though air had been trapped inside. Arun leaned back, afraid for a moment. Then he saw her. Inside the bag lay a young woman. She was not dressed like anyone from his village. Her clothes were of a silver fabric that shimmered faintly in the fading light. Her skin was pale and smooth, and her hair, long and dark, spread across the strange material. Her face was calm, though her lips trembled as if she was fighting to speak. Arun froze. For a moment, he wondered if she was even human. Her eyes opened slightly, and he gasped. They were a deep shade of blue, brighter than the river itself. She looked at him with a weak gaze and whispered, "Please don't send me back." Her voice was soft, fragile, and full of fear. Before Arun could ask anything, her eyes closed again, and she fell still. She was breathing, but her body was weak, as though she had no strength left. Arun looked around. The riverbank was empty. No traveler, no villager, no one to explain how she had come to be there. Only the bag, the woman, and the sound of rushing water. For a long moment, Arun stood in silence, unsure what to do. Should he leave her there? Should he run to the village and call for help? But her words echoed in his mind. "Please don't send me back." Who was she? Where had she come from? And why was she asking not to be sent away? Arun felt a strange pull inside him. He was a simple man, not a soldier or a leader, yet he could not leave her alone. She looked so fragile, so lost. With careful arms, he lifted her out of the bag. She was lighter than he expected, though her clothes felt heavy with water. He laid her gently on the grass and tried to wake her, but she did not respond. Her breathing was steady, so he knew she was alive. He placed his hand near her forehead. Her skin was cool, cooler than the evening breeze. The bag still lay open beside them. Arun looked at it again and shivered. It did not belong to this world. No craftsman he knew could make such a thing. He touched its edge, and it shimmered faintly, as though it was made of light and fabric together. Arun decided quickly. He could not leave her here, not with night coming. Wild animals roamed near the river after dark. She would not survive alone. Gathering his strength, he lifted her into his arms. Her head rested lightly on his shoulder, and though he was nervous, he felt a sense of duty. Step by step, he carried her back to his hut. The path was rough, but Arun was strong from years of farming. The woman did not stir. Her silver clothes caught the moonlight, making her look almost like a being from a dream. When he reached his home, he laid her on his bed, covering her with a wool blanket. He lit a small oil lamp and watched her carefully. She looked peaceful now, though her lips still moved slightly, as if whispering words he could not hear. Arun sat on a stool beside her, thinking deeply. What had he found? Or perhaps, who had found him? The bag, the strange clothes, the glow in her eyes, and her plea not to be sent back. None of it made sense. He was only a farmer, living far from the world of mysteries. Yet tonight, something had entered his life that he could not ignore. He thought of going to the village chief and telling him, but then he remembered the fear in her voice. If he told others, they might take her away. They might not understand her, just as he did not. But something inside him told him that she needed safety, not questions. So Arun decided to wait. He would keep her secret until she woke again. Then, perhaps, she would tell him the truth. Outside, the night deepened. The river flowed quietly under the stars, and the bag lay empty on the bank, glowing faintly before fading into the darkness. Inside the hut, the lamp flickered, and the young woman slept. Arun kept watch beside her, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, but certain that his life had just changed forever. Arun woke early the next morning, as he always did. The first light of dawn touched the fields, and the air carried the smell of wet soil. Usually, he would step outside to begin his work, but that day he stayed inside longer than usual. His eyes rested on the young woman lying on his bed. She was still asleep. Her breathing was steady, but she looked weak. The silver cloth she wore had dried during the night, and under the warm blanket she seemed calmer. Arun studied her face. It was soft, delicate, and filled with quiet beauty. She did not look like anyone from his village or from any village he had ever visited. Arun quietly prepared food. He placed some bread and boiled milk on a wooden plate, then set it beside her bed. When she stirred, her eyes slowly opened, and she looked around with confusion. Arun stepped closer, unsure of what to say. "You are safe," he said softly. "This is my home." She looked at him for a long time before speaking. Her voice was low but clear. "You found me by the river." Arun nodded. "Yes. You were inside that strange bag. Do you remember?" Her eyes filled with fear at the mention of the bag. She turned her face away and whispered, "Please, do not let them take me back." Arun wanted to ask many questions, but he saw the fear in her eyes and stopped himself. He handed her the food instead. "Eat. You need strength." She hesitated, then slowly took the bread in her hands. Her fingers were slim and graceful, yet she held the food as if she was not used to it. She took small bites, and Arun noticed she ate with care, as though she had never tasted simple village food before. When she finished, she looked at him again. "Why did you help me?" Arun thought for a moment. "Because you were alone. Because you asked me not to send you back." She lowered her head. "Most people would not listen. Most would give me away without question." Arun frowned. "Who are you running from? Who put you inside that bag?" The woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I cannot tell you everything now. But I can say this. I am not from this place. I do not belong to this world. I escaped from somewhere far away. They will come searching, but I must not return to them. Arun's heart raced. He wanted to believe she was simply a lost traveler, but her words and her strange clothes told him otherwise. He remembered the way her eyes had glowed faintly when he found her. He remembered the bag that seemed made of light and cloth together. His hands tightened around the edge of the stool he sat on. "You mean you are not human?" he asked carefully. She looked at him with calm eyes. "I am not like you. But I am not dangerous. I only wish to live free." Arun did not know how to respond. He was a farmer, not a man of great knowledge. He had heard stories of spirits and wanderers, but never had he imagined meeting someone from another world. Still, her voice was filled with honesty, and her fear was real. He finally nodded. "Then you will stay here. No one will know." Her eyes widened slightly. "You would hide me? Even if they come?" Arun gave a small smile. "I do not know who they are, but I know you need safety. Until you wish to leave, this house is yours too." For the first time, the woman's face softened. There was a faint warmth in her expression, as though his words had lifted a heavy weight from her heart. The days that followed were unlike any Arun had lived before. He kept her hidden inside his hut, telling his neighbors only that he was unwell if they came asking. She stayed quiet during the day, speaking with him in the evenings when he returned from his fields. Her voice grew stronger each day, and she began to learn more of his language. She told him her name, though she spoke it softly, almost as if it was forbidden. It sounded musical, yet Arun struggled to pronounce it. She laughed gently at his attempts, and finally told him he could simply call her Myra. Myra began to help him with simple tasks inside the hut. She swept the floor, washed the pots, and sometimes sat by the fire while he cooked. She seemed curious about everything: the taste of wheat, the smell of the goats, even the rough fabric of his clothes. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Arun saw her holding a small jug of water. She placed her hand above it, and the water turned clear and bright, as though it had been taken fresh from a spring. Arun watched in silence. She noticed his surprise. "Where I came from, we were forced to use our gifts for others. I can make water clean. I can make plants grow faster. These are small things, but they are part of who I am." Arun felt awe, but also sadness in her words. "They forced you?" he asked. Myra nodded. "We were not allowed to choose. We were tools. That is why I escaped. I would rather hide here, even in a simple hut, than be taken back." Arun's respect for her grew. She was not only a stranger in his world but also someone who had suffered. Yet she still smiled and tried to help in small ways. At night, when Arun stepped outside, he sometimes noticed strange lights in the sky. They moved quickly, brighter than stars, then disappeared. He wondered if they were searching for her. His heart grew heavy with worry, but he kept his thoughts to himself. Inside the hut, Myra would sleep peacefully, wrapped in the blanket he had given her. Her face in the glow of the lamp looked calm, almost like she belonged there. Arun often found himself watching her quietly, feeling both protective and uncertain. He had lived many years with nothing but fields and goats for company. Now, in just a few days, his world had changed. He had found someone who carried secrets beyond imagination. Yet when she smiled at him, he felt something simple and human: hope. Arun knew he could not tell anyone. If the villagers discovered her, fear would spread quickly. If strangers from the sky came, they might take her away forever. So he decided to protect her, no matter the risk. The farmer who once cared only for soil and water now carried a burden far greater than he had ever known. But he carried it willingly, for in the quiet of his hut, he had found a guest who trusted him, and he could not let her down. Arun's days began to change in ways he never expected. For years, his routine had been simple: wake before dawn, tend to the goats, walk to the fields, return home at sunset. But ever since Myra entered his life, every day carried a sense of mystery. She was unlike anyone he had known, not only in appearance but also in her gentle manner and quiet strength. At first, Arun had been cautious, but as time passed, he began to feel comfortable in her presence. Myra spoke more of his language now, though her accent was soft and strange. She asked many questions, and sometimes her curiosity made Arun laugh. One morning, while he prepared to leave for the fields, Myra touched one of his wheat plants that he had brought into the hut for drying. Arun watched with wide eyes as the plant straightened itself, its golden stalk becoming taller and healthier in just a moment. "You did that?" Arun asked in amazement. Myra nodded. "It is a gift we were given long ago. I can help plants grow stronger and faster. But when I was kept in that place, they made me do this every day, for endless fields. I was not free. I was only a worker to them." Her eyes grew distant as she spoke, as though remembering a heavy burden. Arun did not press her with questions. Instead, he placed a hand on the table and said softly, "Here, you do not have to use it unless you want to. This place is your home now." Myra looked at him with gratitude. Her lips curved into a faint smile, and her eyes shone with relief. That day, when Arun returned from the fields, he found the water in his pot fresher than usual. Myra explained she had touched it with her hands and made it pure. Arun realized she was slowly helping him in small ways, not because she was forced to, but because she wished to. This thought warmed his heart. But as their bond grew, so did Arun's unease. Strange events began to happen in the village. At night, villagers spoke of unusual lights in the sky. Some said they saw a bright star moving across the fields, faster than any bird. Others claimed they heard humming sounds above their houses, like giant bees flying in the dark. Children ran to their parents in fear, saying they had seen shadows drifting near the river. One evening, while Arun sat outside his hut, he saw it himself. A glowing line crossed the night sky, too fast to be a falling star, too steady to be lightning. It moved silently, then vanished behind the hills. His heart tightened. Myra stepped outside and stood beside him. She looked at the sky for a long moment before speaking. "They are searching." Arun turned to her. "You mean, for you?" She nodded slowly. "They will not stop until they find me. The lights are their watchers. They can see from far away. They search for signs of my presence." Arun felt a chill. "Then we must be careful. If they know you are here." Myra placed her hand gently on his arm. "I know the risk. But I could not stay in their world. Even if they search forever, I will not return to them." Her voice carried a quiet strength, and though Arun still feared for her, he admired her courage. In the following days, Arun noticed more small changes. The goats seemed healthier, their coats shinier. His crops in the field appeared stronger than ever, though Myra never admitted if she had helped them. Sometimes, when she touched objects, they seemed lighter or brighter for a moment, as though carrying a hidden energy. Arun realized Myra was not only surviving in his world but also blending into it, little by little. Yet at the same time, he felt the weight of the danger pressing closer. One afternoon, as Arun worked in the field, a neighbor named Dalan walked over. Dalan was friendly but curious by nature. He pointed toward the sky where a faint light lingered even in daylight. "Have you seen that?" Dalan asked. "The old men in the village say it is a sign. Some say it is a spirit. What do you think, Arun?" Arun wiped the sweat from his brow and shrugged. "Perhaps just a cloud catching the sun. The sky plays tricks sometimes." Dalan studied him with narrow eyes. "Maybe. But you have been quiet lately. You keep to yourself more than before. Is everything well at your hut?" Arun forced a smile. "All is well. The harvest takes much of my strength. That is why I rest more at home." Dalan nodded but did not look fully convinced. When he left, Arun felt his chest tighten with worry. The villagers were beginning to notice. If they became too curious, they might come near his home. Myra would be discovered. That evening, when he told Myra about Dalan, she grew thoughtful. "They must not know about me. If they discover me, they may fear me. Fear makes people unkind. And if the watchers above sense fear, they will know where to look." Arun agreed. From that day on, he grew more careful. He left the hut at normal hours, spoke with his neighbors when needed, and kept Myra hidden. She stayed quiet when anyone came close, moving silently within the hut like a shadow. Yet despite the danger, life inside the hut was not without moments of peace. Myra began to laugh more often, sometimes at Arun's clumsy way of speaking her name, sometimes at his serious face when he worked too hard. In those moments, the fear outside seemed far away. One night, as they sat together, Myra told him about her world. She described a place where tall towers stretched into the clouds, where the sky was always filled with machines, and where people like her were made to work without rest. Her voice grew heavy as she spoke, but when she saw the kindness in Arun's eyes, she stopped and smiled faintly. "Your world is different," she said. "It feels alive. It feels free. I want to stay here, even if I must hide forever." Arun looked at her, and though he could not understand all of her past, he understood her wish. He made a silent promise in his heart that he would protect her as long as he could. Outside, the night sky shimmered with distant lights, moving slowly across the horizon. Somewhere out there, someone was searching. But inside the small hut, a farmer and an alien woman shared a quiet bond, stronger than fear. The days passed quietly, but inside Arun's small hut, a new rhythm of life began to form. Myra was no longer a stranger who had appeared from a mysterious bag. She was now a part of his daily life, and her presence brought a warmth Arun had never known before. Arun had always lived alone. His parents had passed away years ago, and he had no brothers or sisters. The villagers respected him as a hard-working farmer, but he was not close to anyone. His days were filled with soil, water, and crops, and his nights with silence. Yet since Myra arrived, the silence had been replaced by conversation, and the emptiness of his hut had been replaced by laughter. Myra learned his language faster than he expected. At first, she struggled to form simple words, but she listened carefully, repeating after him with patience. Within weeks, she was able to speak in full sentences. Her voice carried a soft, melodic tone that made even ordinary words sound gentle. One evening, as they ate together, she said, "Your world is quiet, but it has life. I feel it in the soil and in the air." Arun looked at her curiously. "What do you mean?" Myra placed her hand on the wooden table. In my world, everything was made by machines. The air was heavy with smoke, and the soil was hard. Life was not free. But here, when I touch the ground, I feel it breathe. When I drink the water, I feel it sing. Your world is alive in ways mine was not. Arun listened with interest. Her words opened his eyes to things he had taken for granted. He had always known the fields, the river, and the goats as simple parts of life, but Myra spoke of them with wonder, as though they were treasures. It made him look at his own world differently. Over time, Arun began to notice how Myra changed the atmosphere of his home. She would hum soft tunes as she worked, songs he had never heard before, filled with flowing sounds that seemed to carry the beauty of distant stars. She helped him in small ways, cleaning the hut or preparing food, though she often asked questions about every step of the process. One morning, Arun found her kneeling in the small patch of earth near his hut. She touched the soil with her fingers, and tiny green shoots appeared, sprouting quickly into small plants. Arun was amazed. "You can make them grow?" Myra nodded with a smile. "Yes. But here, I do it because I want to, not because I am forced." Her words stayed with him. He realized that every small act she did was a symbol of her freedom. In her world, her gifts had been taken for granted, used without care. But in his world, she chose when to use them, and that choice made her happy. As the days grew warmer, Arun began to take Myra outside more often, though always with caution. He led her to the river at night, when no villagers were around. She stood by the water, gazing at the reflection of the stars, her eyes filled with wonder. "Your sky is different," she whispered. "The stars here feel closer. They feel kind." Arun watched her quietly. In those moments, she seemed both fragile and strong, like a part of the sky had fallen to earth. Their bond deepened not only through shared moments but also through trust. Myra trusted him with her secret, and Arun trusted her with his quiet life. They spoke of small things, yet those conversations carried great meaning. Arun told her about his childhood, about how he learned to farm from his father, about how his mother used to sing while grinding wheat. Myra listened with genuine interest, asking questions about every detail. In return, she told him more about her world, though often in fragments. She spoke of tall towers that touched the clouds, of endless machines that covered the land, of people who had lost their freedom because they were watched day and night. Her eyes grew heavy when she remembered, but when she looked at Arun, she always smiled, as if reminding herself that she had escaped. One afternoon, while Arun repaired a broken fence, Myra came to him carrying a jug of water. She placed her hand over it, and the water sparkled, pure and clear. She handed it to him, saying, "Drink. It will give you strength." Arun drank and felt refreshed, more than he ever had from ordinary water. He looked at her with quiet gratitude. "You do not have to help me so much." Myra shook her head. "I want to. Here, every small act feels like freedom. And when I help you, I feel I belong." Those words touched Arun deeply. For the first time in his life, he felt that his small home was more than a shelter. It was a place where two lives had joined, not by choice of the world, but by choice of the heart. Yet, not everything was peaceful. The strange lights in the sky continued to appear. Some nights they moved quickly, flashing across the horizon. Other times they lingered, glowing faintly above the fields. Arun noticed Myra watching them with worry. "They are still searching," she said one evening. They will not stop until they find me. Arun felt a weight in his chest. He knew the danger was real, but he also knew he could not let fear control their days. Then we will stay hidden, he said firmly. This hut is small, but it will keep you safe. Myra looked at him with trust. You are only a farmer, yet you speak as if you can stand against them. Arun smiled faintly. I may be only a farmer, but I know how to protect what matters to me. Her eyes softened, and she gave him a smile that stayed in his memory long after that night. As the weeks passed, their bond grew stronger. They no longer felt like host and guest, but like two souls walking together in the same path. Arun found joy in her laughter, and Myra found peace in his steady presence. Sometimes, when silence filled the hut, Arun thought about how strange his life had become. A farmer who had expected nothing more than seasons of crops now shared his days with a woman from beyond the stars. And yet, it did not feel strange anymore. It felt right, as though fate had placed her in his path. The nights outside still carried danger, with watchers in the sky, but inside the hut there was warmth. The bond between Arun and Myra grew like the crops in his field, rooted deeply in trust and nurtured by kindness. Whatever the future held, they both knew they would face it together. The summer nights in Arun's village were usually peaceful. Crickets sang in the grass, and the river flowed with a calm rhythm. But lately, the nights carried a different feeling. The air seemed heavy, as if waiting for something unseen. Even the animals behaved strangely. The goats in Arun's pen grew restless, often bleating at shadows that passed silently across the fields. Arun noticed it most strongly one evening when the moon was high. He sat outside his hut, sharpening a wooden tool, when he heard a low hum. It was not like the sound of insects or the rush of wind. It was deeper, steady, and unnatural. He looked up and saw faint shadows moving across the sky. They did not drift like clouds. They glided smoothly, as if guided by purpose. Myra stepped out of the hut, her face pale in the moonlight. She had heard it too. Her eyes searched the sky with quiet fear. They are closer now, she whispered. Arun's heart tightened. You mean the ones searching for you? She nodded. Yes. They send watchers first. They follow the signals of their devices. They will sweep the land until they sense me. Arun thought of the bag he had found her in. It had vanished near the river, leaving nothing but fading light. Yet, he wondered if something of it still called out to them. He had no answer, but he knew one thing: if these visitors were near, Myra must not be found. The humming grew louder that night. Arun guided Myra quickly into the barn. Beneath the barn floor was a small cellar where he stored tools and old grain. It was narrow but hidden. Stay here until it is quiet, he told her. Myra hesitated. What about you? I will stay near, Arun said. If they come, I will make sure they find nothing. Myra looked at him with worried eyes, but she trusted him. She stepped into the cellar, and Arun covered the opening with old boards and straw. Moments later, shadows drifted across the fields. Arun crouched near the barn wall, peering through the cracks. His breath caught as he saw three tall shapes moving near the riverbank. They were not like men, not like villagers. Their outlines shimmered faintly, and their steps made no sound. In their hands, they carried rods that pulsed with faint light. Arun stayed very still, his heart pounding. The shapes spread out, moving with silent purpose. One of them placed a small device on the ground. It opened like a flower and sent out a ring of blue light that washed over the grass. Arun felt his skin prickle as the light passed him. The figures moved closer to his hut. Arun held his breath, praying they would not notice. One of them paused near the barn, tilting its head as though listening. Arun's muscles tensed. He gripped a wooden pole, though he knew it would be useless if they discovered Myra. After a long pause, the figure turned away. The three shapes gathered near the river again. They seemed to exchange signals, though no words were spoken. Then, as silently as they had come, they began to move away. The hum in the air grew softer, fading into the night. When Arun was certain they had gone, he hurried back into the barn and pulled aside the boards. Myra climbed out, her face pale but calm. "They did not find me," she said softly. Arun shook his head. "But they will return. I saw them leave something by the river. A device. It sends out light." Myra's eyes darkened. "That is how they track. It will keep sending signals until they can narrow the place." Arun felt frustration rising. "Then we must destroy it. If it stays, they will keep coming closer." Myra hesitated. "If I touch it, they will know at once that I am here. But if we leave it, they will also know, slowly. Either way, there is risk." Arun thought for a long moment. He had never faced choices like this before. He was only a farmer, yet now he found himself standing against powers beyond his world. But when he looked at Myra, standing there with trust in her eyes, he felt his decision clear. "Better they know you are free than let their device control us," he said. "We will face what comes." Myra placed her hand gently on his arm. "You are braver than you believe, Arun." The next morning, when the village stirred awake, Arun went about his work as usual. He greeted his neighbors, tended his goats, and carried water from the river. No one knew what had happened in the night. Yet he could not stop glancing at the place where the strange device lay half hidden among the reeds. It pulsed faintly, sending its light upward, unseen by others but not by Myra. That evening, when the sun set and the fields grew quiet, Arun and Myra walked to the river together. The device was still there, glowing faintly against the dark soil. Myra knelt beside it, her hands hovering just above. "It listens for me," she said. "If I place my hand here, I can stop it. But the moment I do, they will know the signal has ended. They will know I interfered." Arun stood close beside her. "Then let them know. They will learn that you are not helpless anymore." Myra looked at him for a moment, then nodded. She pressed her hand onto the device. A bright light flashed, spreading across the riverbank like ripples in water. Then the glow vanished, and the device lay still and broken. Myra stood slowly. "It is done." Arun felt both relief and worry. "What will they do now?" "They will search more carefully," Myra answered. "But without the device, it will take them longer. We have gained time." They walked back to the hut in silence, the night air heavy with unspoken thoughts. Arun knew danger still waited, but he also knew something else. He was no longer just a farmer tending fields. He was a guardian of a secret, and in his heart, he felt ready. Inside the hut, as the oil lamp flickered, Myra sat quietly by the fire. Her eyes reflected both fear and hope. Arun sat across from her, his hands rough from work but steady with purpose. They both knew the watchers would return, but for now, the night was theirs. And for the first time since she had arrived, Myra whispered with a small smile, "Here, I feel safe." Arun looked at her, and though he did not speak, he felt the same. The days that followed were quiet on the surface, but Arun felt the weight of unease everywhere. He worked in the fields as he always did, planting and watering, yet his eyes often drifted to the horizon. He waited for signs of movement in the sky or the strange hum in the air. Myra stayed close to the hut, helping him with small tasks, though he could see her thoughts were always elsewhere. One evening, while the sun dipped low and the river shone with golden light, Myra spoke softly. "They will not give up. The ones who search for me will keep coming. Arun, I must decide what I should do." Arun wiped his hands on a cloth and sat beside her. "What choice do you mean?" She turned to face him, her eyes calm but serious. "I can keep hiding, and they will search the land, troubling your people. Or I can reveal myself to them, and they will take me back. If I go, the village will be safe. But if I stay, danger will follow." Arun felt a cold weight in his chest. He had feared this moment would come. "If you go, what will happen to you?" Myra looked down at her hands. "I will lose my freedom again. They will place me under their command. I escaped once, but they will not allow me a second chance. I will no longer be myself." Arun's hands tightened into fists. The thought of her being taken away, forced into silence and control, filled him with anger he did not often feel. Yet he also thought of his neighbors, the families who lived in peace, unaware of the silent watchers who walked the fields at night. "They have lived safely for many years," Arun said slowly. "I cannot allow harm to fall on them. But I also cannot allow harm to fall on you. There must be another way." Myra studied his face. "What do you suggest?" Arun stood and walked a few paces, his mind turning quickly. He was no scholar, no leader, just a farmer. Yet in his heart, he felt something strong. "If they want you, they must face me first. And I will not give you to them. Perhaps we can find a way to send them back without you." Myra's eyes widened. "That is a bold path, Arun. But do you know what it means? They will see you as a barrier. They may try to remove you." Arun gave a small smile. "I am not easy to remove. My life has been soil and stone. If I bend, I do not break." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. For the first time since she had spoken of leaving, she looked lighter. "You speak like one of my own people," she said. "They value strength of will above all else. Perhaps you were meant to be part of this struggle." That night, Arun dreamed of shadows moving through the fields again. But this time, he did not hide. He stood tall, holding nothing but his hands, and the shadows could not pass him. When he awoke, the dream stayed with him, giving him quiet courage. The next day, Myra shared more of her story. She spoke of her home, far beyond the stars, where great towers rose like mountains and ships crossed the skies. Her people had knowledge of energy and light that could shape worlds. But they had lost something to freedom of heart. Orders ruled their lives, and choice was rare. "I was not the only one who longed to be free," Myra said. "But I was the one who dared to act. When I found a way to leave, I took it. That is why they call me a fugitive. Not because I harmed them, but because I wished to live for myself." Arun listened carefully. The story filled him with both wonder and sorrow. "You deserve to live free," he said simply. That evening, as the shadows grew long, Arun walked into the village to speak with his old friend Ratan. Ratan was a quiet man, but wise in ways of the earth and sky. Arun did not tell him everything, for he feared disbelief, but he hinted at trouble coming from far away. "If strangers came to our land, seeking something not theirs, would we allow it?" Arun asked. Rattan frowned, scratching his beard. Our land is small, but it is ours. If strangers come with kindness, we welcome them. If they come with chains, we resist. Even a farmer has that right. Arun nodded slowly. His friend's words gave him strength. When he returned, Myra was waiting outside the hut, watching the stars. She looked at him as though she already knew his heart. "You have chosen, haven't you?" she asked. Arun breathed deeply. "Yes. You will not go back. If they come, we will face them together. And if they try to take you, they will learn that even a farmer's hand can hold strong." Myra's eyes softened. "You may think yourself only a farmer, Arun, but in truth, you are more. You have given me shelter, courage, and choice. That is greater than all the towers of my world." They stood together in silence, the stars bright above them. In that moment, neither spoke of fear. The path ahead was uncertain, but both felt a bond stronger than the shadows moving across the sky. Days passed, and still no sign of the watchers. Yet the air remained heavy with expectation. Arun and Myra prepared quietly. They stored food, gathered water, and watched the fields at night. Myra taught Arun small things about her world: symbols carved in wood that could confuse signals, patterns of sound that could shield her presence for a short time. Each day brought them closer, not only as allies but as friends who trusted one another deeply. Arun began to see her not only as someone he had found in a bag but as someone who had chosen to share her life with him. One night, as they sat by the fire, Arun asked softly, "Do you regret coming here?" Myra shook her head. "No, I regret only that they may still find us. But as long as I am here with you, I do not regret my choice." Arun's heart warmed at her words. He knew the Watchers would return. He knew danger would come. But he also knew he was no longer afraid. The choice had been made. Myra would stay. The first light of morning crept over Arun's fields, painting the wheat in soft shades of gold. The night had been quiet, but Arun knew it would not always stay that way. The Watchers from above, the ones seeking Myra, could return at any moment. He rose early, gathering his courage and preparing the hut for whatever might come. Myra was already awake. She stood by the window, looking at the river where they had first found each other. Her eyes reflected both fear and hope. Arun approached quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "They will return," he said softly. Myra nodded. "Yes. But I am ready. And so are you." Arun felt a surge of strength. He had always been a farmer, used to handling soil, water, and sun. Yet now, he felt capable of protecting something far greater than his crops or goats. He was protecting freedom itself, the gift he had been given to safeguard. The hours passed slowly. Arun and Myra worked together in silence, preparing the hut and the small barn. She moved gracefully, almost as if she had danced through the long years of her life, learning careful ways to hide and protect herself. Arun carried tools and placed barriers, making small changes that would keep the barn hidden from any watchers who came searching. By midday, a strange quiet settled over the village. Birds perched in the trees, calling softly, and the river flowed without interruption. Arun and Myra waited, listening for any hum in the air, any sign of approaching danger. Finally, a low vibration reached them from the sky. Arun's heart quickened. Shadows moved across the distant fields, more distinct than before. 3 figures appeared, gliding toward the riverbank. Their rods pulsed with faint light, and their forms shimmered against the sunlit ground. Arun stood tall beside Myra. Remember, he whispered, we will face them together. Do not be afraid. Myra placed her hand gently on his arm. I am not afraid. Not with you here. The watchers moved closer. Arun tightened his hands around a wooden staff, his muscles ready. He had no weapon that could harm them, but he had determination and courage that reached beyond steel or fire. The figures paused near the river, their eyes, if they had eyes, seeming to study the area carefully. They approached the broken device lying on the ground. Arun stepped forward. This is my land, he said clearly, though his voice trembled slightly. You will not take her. The figures halted. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating through the grass. Myra stepped beside him. She raised her hand slowly, and a faint ripple of light shimmered around her, not to attack but to warn. They will feel the signal of choice, she whispered. They will know I am free, and they must respect it. The watchers seemed to pause, analyzing. Then, to Arun's surprise, they began to back away. The hum faded, and their shadows moved smoothly, finally disappearing over the horizon. Arun breathed heavily, relief washing through him. Myra turned to him, eyes shining. You did this, she said. You stood up for me, and they could not take me. Arun shook his head. We did this together. Your courage and mine combined. That is why they left. Myra smiled faintly. Then I am safe. Truly safe. They walked back to the hut together, feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces. Arun realized that the fear that had hung over the past weeks was lifting. The bond between them had carried them through danger, and now it had brought them to safety. Over the next few days, life returned to a quiet rhythm. Arun worked in the fields as before, but now Myra helped freely, not hidden in fear. She learned to tend the crops with him, moving among the wheat with a gentle grace. Sometimes, she would touch the soil, and the plants would grow faster, stronger, healthier. Arun watched, amazed, but he never asked her to use her gift. She did so because she wished to, and that choice was hers alone. At night, they would sit by the fire, speaking quietly about their worlds. Arun told her stories of the village, of festivals and simple joys he had long taken for granted. Myra told him stories of distant lands and skies filled with machines, of people who had lost freedom, and of how she had escaped to this world. I cannot change my world, she said one evening, but here, I can choose. And because of you, Arun, I am allowed to live freely. Arun smiled, feeling a warmth that reached deep into his heart. You do not owe me anything, he said softly. I only did what any person should do. But I am glad you are here, with me. Myra's eyes filled with gratitude. Then I will stay, she said. Not as a guest, but as family. Arun felt a quiet joy. He had once thought life would remain simple, quiet, and small. But now, his home was filled with laughter, companionship, and a new sense of purpose. He realized that humanity's strength was not only in courage or skill, but also in kindness. By protecting Myra, he had honored the best of what it meant to be human. The villagers noticed little. Arun and Myra kept to themselves, though their presence together seemed to radiate calm. Animals thrived in the fields, crops grew strong, and the river flowed clear. All around, life continued, simple and ordinary, yet now infused with a quiet, extraordinary peace. One morning, as Arun and Myra stood by the river, she looked up at the sky. The stars still shone faintly in the blue dawn, and she took a deep breath. I think I understand now, she said softly. Freedom is not only leaving a place. It is being allowed to live, to choose, and to be safe in your decisions. Here, I have that. And I will treasure it always. Arun nodded. Then we will make this our home. No one can take that from us. Myra reached for his hand, and he held it firmly. Together, they looked at the fields, the river, and the rising sun. The future was uncertain, but they knew they could face it, side by side. The Watchers would not come back soon. Even if they did, Arun and Myra had learned something greater than fear. They had learned trust, courage, and the power of standing together. In the quiet of the morning, the farmer and the alien woman stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever life would bring. And in that moment, a new dawn rose not only over the village but in their hearts. They had faced the shadows, and they had chosen freedom.